beautifuls, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Madison Reed's Hair Color House Party, Valentine's Day edition. Very fun. We are live from our bathrooms, from our kitchens, from all over the US, coming together as a community and learning how to color our hair together. Speaking of coloring your hair, maybe you guys are a little bit anxious if you're coloring your hair at home for the first time. Maybe you have a little bit of anxiety about doing that. And the Madison Reed team is here to tell you that you've got this. We've got you. We're going to teach you everything you need to know, and that you're going to get gorgeous hair. Trust us. So we are gathered today, and this is going to be so fun, and it's not just fun for us, it has meaning. For every person in attendance today, we are going to be donating $1 to Direct Relief, an organization that's helping healthcare workers, which is such an important cause today, as we all know. We're also going to be giving a prize giveaway, a set of our Radiant Cream Color, as well as our Color Reviving Gloss to a lucky winner at the end of the show. To qualify, we need to see your faces. So please show us your lovely face, and then you will qualify for a prize at the end. Alrighty, so from the very beginning of Madison Reed, we have been all about our colorists. 60% of our employees are colorists, and they are by far the backbone, the heart, and the expertise of Madison Reed. And we are just so fortunate to have 3 of our very best expert colorists with us today, who are going to teach you everything you need to know. And they have decades of experience, not just coloring women's hair as colorists in a salon, but they also have years and years of experience teaching other women how to color their hair at home. So you are in the right place. And with that, I'd love to introduce you to our team of professional colorists. First up, we have Susan.
Hello, love from Dallas, Texas.
Susan has, wait for it, over 25 years of experience as a professional colorist, which means that Susan started coloring women's hair when she was 5 years old. A fun fact about Susan is that she's not just a colorist, she is actually our formulator. So Susan is the one that formulated our over 55 shades of gorgeous hair color for Madison Reed. So welcome, Susan. Next up, we have Krista.
Hi, everyone. Hello from San Francisco. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Krista has 10 years of experience as a professional colorist, excuse me, and she is a huge product tester for us in our headquarters in San Francisco. And a fun fact about Krista is that she was one of our first colorists in our very first hair color bar pop-up location in New York City. So welcome, Krista. And last but not least, the star of the show today is Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Happy almost Valentine's Day.
Rachel has 14 years of experience as a professional colorist, and today she manages product development and education for Madison Reed in our headquarters. And a fun fact about Rachel is that she actually moved from San Francisco to New York City for 6 months to help with the very first Madison Reed pop-up hair color bar in Manhattan. And given the success of that pop-up that both Rachel and Krista made a success, that we now have 28 hair color bars nationwide. Rachel will be applying today a beautiful brunette color called Positano Black on her roots, and she will be applying espresso gloss to her mid-lengths and ends for a beautiful shine. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to Krista for some housekeeping.
All right. Thanks, Heidi. Hi, everyone. So I just have a few housekeeping notes for today's hair color house party. We want to try to get to as many questions as possible. So to help us do that, we kindly ask that you have your one question ready to go. And if you do have more than one, don't worry about it. We'll have a special email at the end of the party that we'll give out, and myself or another master colorist will be answering your questions. So don't worry about that. Also, if you do have a question, we want to call your name. So just be sure that your name is saying Susan instead of iPad or iPhone. All right, Susan, will you tell us how to ask questions?
Absolutely. And we want to hear from all of you. So we definitely want to hear your questions. Keep them coming. In order to enter the queue, we're going to take your questions in turn. So if you've got one ready, go ahead and ask it. In order to ask a question, what you have to do is go to virtually raising your hand. So you need to go to the bottom of the screen on Zoom and then click raise hand on the lower right side, and then we'll be able to see your hand and we'll be able to ask your question, and we're going to call on you by name. So we're going to mute everybody to make sure that we can hear Rachel clearly, because she's got tons to tell us about how we're going to fall in love with her hair. So we will actually unmute you when we ask you to ask your question. Okay, so Rachel is waiting patiently, and I know that you guys all are too. Let's find out what she's got for us. Rachel.
Perfect. Thank you, Susan. Hello, everybody. Very excited to be here to do my color with you all. So I am going to be doing permanent color on my roots, well overdue. I'll give you guys a little peek, and then our color reviving gloss through my mid lengths and ends, and I'll kind of explain what I'm going to be doing there. So we call this our perfect pair. It truly is perfect. I essentially do this every single time I color to give me a full kind of color refresh, keep my hair nice and healthy, keep the shine there, adjust any tones that I might want to do, or play up some tones that I want to see. So I'll walk you through all that. And I'll obviously answer some questions along the way. So I will first kind of show you everything I have, so you know my setup. I've got my color kit. I'll just hold this up here if you can see. Everything I need is in my kit. And then I also have my color reviving gloss. Beautiful tube. And so the shades I will be using, and actually let me kind of part my hair so you can get a good look at my natural color. So I usually color about every, ideally 4 weeks. It's been almost 8. So I'm very excited to do this tonight. So if you can see, I know the lighting is a little tricky. I do have grays, mostly through the part, right where I see them, a good amount behind the ears as well. So I do need gray coverage, and I do like it nice and dark, nice and rich. So for that, I use our Positano Black. It's the 3NNA. And then for my ends, I'm actually going to do something a little different. I had been doing more sort of red-violet shades in the past. And I want to go with something more neutral, kind of cool, smoky ash. So I'm going to do our espresso gloss through my ends to kind of balance everything out, you know, have a little change, but still keep the dimension and the shine there. Okay, so I'm going to get to it. I'm going to start sectioning my hair.
So Rachel, as you're sectioning your hair off, can you tell us, do you ever use any other color of gloss through the mid-lengths and ends of your hair?
I do. Actually, the last time I colored, I used our Barolo gloss, which is a gorgeous red. So I used Barolo to try and up the red. I mean, my hair is dark, but in the sun, you really see it show through. So a nice way to play with tones, play with color, without kind of, you know, disturbing my natural routine of touching up my roots. And it's semi-permanent. So there's no real risk of over deposits, you know, drying out my hair, going too dark, really a gentle way to kind of play up the tones. So you can enhance tones or maybe diminish them. So maybe if you're blonde and you go brassy, you know, maybe you are a brunette like me and you've kind of over the red and you want to tone that down. Lots of things you can do with gloss.
So it's almost like when you use permanent color, that's the real commitment, right? But then you can kiss the color on the ends of your hair by ringing the changes. You don't have to commit. It's almost a bit like kind of holding hands or kissing the ends of your hair without having to really commit to the color, right?
Exactly.
So that's exactly what I do too, because I love, as a brunette, and I've got some few bits of lighter pieces, which you don't have, but I like to keep those light. So by using different colors of color reviving gloss, you can kind of flirt with being a redhead, or then you can flirt with being a brunette. And then if you're blonde, you can flirt with being cool or warm, which I love.
Yes.
Right, doesn't this look cute?
First.
So I'm all sectioned. I've got my 2 sections in the front, 2 in the back. They're probably not perfect, but that's okay. It's just going to keep everything nice and neat and tidy while I go. I'm going to put on our barrier cream just around the hairline, on my ears, make sure I don't get any staining. You know, the shade is quite dark, so this will really help kind of keep the staining at bay. And I do want to be careful not to go into my hair, because that'll kind of act as a barrier against the color taking, especially if you have grays. So, you know, as long as your hair is kind of clipped up in those clips, or you just kind of hold it back, that's fine. Okay. And then what I'm going to do to apply my color is actually start with our bottle. It comes in your kit. I'm going to start with the bottle so you can see that application through the front, and then I'm going to switch it up and use our bowl and brush for the other side, just so you can see what that's like. There's benefits to both. So, okay. I'm going to put my gloves on now. And since my hair is all sectioned and I've got my barrier cream on, this is a good point to put your gloves on. I've also sort of prepped my gloss. I've got that open. I've got the box for my cap open. So I kind of have everything ready to grab so that when my hands get messy with color, I don't have to do all of that.
So would you say then, Rachel, it's worth taking your time to kind of set yourself up a little bit at this point, so that you don't have to reach for your phone, you don't have to suddenly think, oh, what have I done with my color? I like to do exactly the same thing too. And the other thing that I do like to do, because I've just had my bathroom refurbished, is make sure that I put something down on my sink, so that if I do put a little bit of color down on there, it's not going to be the end of the world. And especially I think in Rachel's case, right, because it's a dark shade.
Exactly. Yep. I moved my bath mat out of the way. I've lined my counter. You can use old towels, parchment paper, foil, whatever you have. So kind of setting yourself up for success, and you don't have to worry about any whoopsies that might happen, because they will happen. So I'm prepped just in case. Okay, so I've got my color mixed. One little tip, I'm actually going to dispense a little bit out first, like on a paper towel, because what happens is some activator might get stuck in the tip, right? So kind of just get that out till you see the color flowing there. Perfect. And now I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we always recommend starting in the front. Number one, it's where you see it all first, right? It's kind of the focus of your color. But also, if you have grays, the gray needs longer to process. And my grays are actually quite stubborn, quite resistant. So I'm starting in the front, and I'm just sort of outlining my section. And then I do want to hit the hairline here. What's interesting is my hair, I don't have a lot of it. You know, my ponytail isn't that thick. It's kind of a skinny ponytail, but the hair that I have is quite coarse and kind of stubborn. So I do really have to work the product in to make sure I've got everything covered. So now I'm just taking horizontal sections, working from the top down. So the bottle is quick and easy. You know, it's kind of working as your tool to part the hair. It's dispensing the color at the same time, and then you're just using your fingers to massage it in.
I can see, Rachel, what you're doing is you're kind of starting close to the front, but not exactly right on the front hairline, and then putting the color working backwards. Is that a deliberate thing that you're doing there?
You know, it is nice to kind of work away from the face. So, you know, if any drips happen, you're not going to get, again, the staining. Also, just whatever feels good, like whatever feels natural. You know, I'm right-handed, but, you know, it's kind of whatever's easiest to hold the bottle in. When you switch sides, honestly, I'm trying to think when I get to my right side, if it's going to be the same or if I'm going to switch it up. But just go by feel, really. But, you know, making sure to at least keep the sections away from your face is a good thing.
I think what's good to see as well here, and what I'll often say to my clients is don't worry so much about it being neat and sectioned before you put the color on, because once the color's on your hair, you can see that as Rachel's working it through, it stays where it's put. So, and this is a good reason why we don't tend to recommend having color on clean hair, because when your hair's clean, it's kind of slippy. So if it's maybe a day or even 2 days old, then it's actually easier to work with, particularly if your hair is longer. Once the color goes on the hair, it actually makes it easier to section. So if you have got short hair, same deal. Some people with shorter hair find that it's quite difficult to get it sectioned nice and neatly the way that Rachel did. So color can actually be your friend, because as soon as you get that color on, it helps to kind of stick it back from the face. Just as you're doing, Rachel. That's a brilliant job, my dear.
Why, thank you, Susan. I've got lots of little baby hairs, so I'm really getting those suckers with color. Really make sure they take.
The thing about the fine hair right at the hairline is actually sometimes it can be quite resistant, particularly if you're going darker. So that's why you're putting plenty of color on there, aren't you, darling?
Absolutely. Yep. You kind of think of it, you want it to look like cake frosting or icing. You want to see the color there. You don't want any dry spots. So yeah, don't be shy with the product. You'll typically use a whole tube for your root application. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit in my bowl, just so I can show you all the brush application.
So are you a brush girl or a bottle girl, Rachel?
You know what? Both, and I'll tell you why and where. The front, I typically like a brush. You know, I kind of feel it's more precise. I can really get my baby hairs in there. In the back, a bottle is nice because it's just quick and easy. You go by feel. You're not having to pick up the color every time. You know, so in the front, I would say I'm a huge fan of the brush. And then the bottle to kind of get the back real quickly. But what you could do, little tip, just do your whole head with the bottle and then maybe go back and cross-check it with your brush.
The other thing that I like the brush for, and obviously you've told us when you last colored your hair, but if you're a serial colorist, so if you like to do your hair every 3 weeks as opposed to every 3 months, then it's actually better to use a brush because you can be that little bit more precise, I think. And I know, Krista, that's what you like to do, isn't it, darling?
I was going to say that is me. Every 3 weeks, that little bit of regrowth just in my brush, get in there. And I'm just getting that little bit because I don't want to disturb my blonde. So I'm just trying to get my gray roots. So yeah, I love the brush and bowl for that reason.
Well, you're getting on beautifully with that, aren't you, my love?
I have lots of roots here to cover, so it's so satisfying to just see them get covered up with this color.
That's wonderful. So while you're working on that section, I know that you're going to work right the way down, aren't you? What are you doing special about that? How is the brush different, do you think?
So with the brush, same thing as the bottle, I'm really feeling where I'm putting the color, right? You know, kind of feeling nice and cool. So working from the top down to my ear, quarter in sections. You don't want to take anything, you know, too large at this point because I really want to get my roots covered. You know, so it's okay. Take your time. Don't stress about time. Really just do what it takes to, you know, kind of feel good in your application and make sure you've got everything covered. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, saturation is key. So use enough product and then really work that product in well.
Brilliant. So while you're doing that, Krista, do you think it's time for us to take our first question? I think that we've had some people waiting for a while, haven't we?
Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to ask to unmute you. Let's see. Gail, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Here we go. Oh, looks like your camera is off. I'm going to ask you to turn your camera on. There you go. Right.
Okay.
All right. Gail.
So, yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. So I had a question. I have a problem because I dye my own hair and there's no one else in the house to help me except 2 little children. And so I have trouble getting the back fully. Like I kind of get here and here, but then there's parts where like a few weeks later, I'll notice I have like 2 inches of white hair coming out. So do you have any tips for getting the back of
Yeah,
your
I
hair?
mean, honestly, even just watching Rachel right now, do you see how she's going horizontally across her head and just kind of squeezing in between, taking kind of smaller sections? That's really going to help, you know, staying organized is really going to help you get those harder to reach places in the back, and also feeling. So Rachel, you can see is like feeling where the color is and just kind of smushing it in. So I think taking the smaller sections in the back is a way to kind of make sure you're getting everything. But I honestly don't even, I don't do the back of my hair that often because I feel like no one sees it. It's not that big of a deal. So I'm not so hard on myself, as Rachel said as well, about the back. So for me, I'm more concerned about this area. But if you are trying to get a little more coverage in the back, I'd suggest what you can see Rachel doing here is trying to take, more precise sections horizontally.
Can you all see that enough? Okay,
Yeah, that's great, Rachel. You're doing a good job.
Thanks, guys.
Can you step a little bit closer to the camera, darling? So you can see what Rachel's doing is she's touching the tip of the bottle to her head. So by being able to feel that can kind of help you know sort of where you've been. And when you squidge the color onto, and I like to use those kinds of words because they sound nice, onto your hair, you can feel it on your scalp. It's nice and cold. And then what she's doing, you can see, is just massaging gently every time she puts color on the hair. So that way, the kind of environment, as well as just the section, is being colored. And that's the kind of way that is really what I like to say to my clients when we're talking about it, that we like to do the back, to advise people to do the back of their hair, because really it's not a precision thing. If you do have lots of gray, usually it's behind the ears. I know, Rachel, you've got gray behind your ears, haven't you? So you're being particularly careful.
Yes.
There.
If I put it up into a ponytail, I see it all back there. So there, I'm really making sure I kind of feel to make sure I've got it all covered. So same thing, kind of just feel where am I working? Where's my section? I'll start up at the top.
Fabulous. And again, plenty of color. So really the only thing that you can do wrong with color is not use enough of it. And that's usually where most of the issues come. So we have a question from Facebook, because we're actually, all of us are on Facebook Live at the moment, which is kind of cool. So a question from Facebook is, I see very few pictures or information regarding blonde shades. So do your colors not lift hair color? Oh, so I'd like to clear this up right here, right now. Madison Reed has amazing blonde shades. Yes, we do have blonde shades that will lighten natural hair. The one thing that you can't do with hair color is lighten colored hair. So for that, you need to use bleach, and that's what we've all heard about. In fact, Madison Reed, we do have a balayage kit, which is really cool. If your hair is colored like mine, you can introduce some really nice highlights and lighter pieces, dimension. That's what that's used for. But if your hair is actually colored, then we need to do that in order to lighten it. If you've got natural hair, can you go blonde with Madison Reed? Absolutely, you can. And in fact, we have a huge array of blonde shades. We love dark hair because dark hair is beautiful, but we also love blondes. And that's why when we do our Zoom calls, we like to change it up and have Krista, who's an amazing blonde, and it's all Madison Reed, as well as me, who's kind of in between. And then Rachel, obviously today, is a dark shade. So yeah, if you want to go blonde, we've got, yeah. Okay, so Rachel, how are we doing? Do we have time for another question? Are you going to be working
Yeah.
on your application?
I'm just going to be doing a cross check here. So I'm just working in the opposite direction I started. So sort of vertical sections now. And this is where I'm using my brush again to kind of brush it in. Really important step. So once you get it on all your roots, now just go back, do a quick cross check. This is what us colorists do for every single color service we do in the salon or in our hair color bars. So a good extra step to take. And then I'll get going on my gloss.
Perfect. So have we got time before you do your gloss to talk a bit more about blondes, since we've got one right here? Krista, tell us how you get your gorgeous hair color, darling.
Yes. So I'm actually, as I was saying, I'm pretty gray. So I do my roots every 3 weeks, and I do use one of our dark blondes. It's Lucia 8.5 NNA, which does a great job of covering my gray. So I use that, like I said, every month. And then my ends are kind of a mix of different things I've been doing. I've used our balayage kit. I've also had some highlights in the past. And to keep my ends bright, I do use our crema gloss, which is violet based. So it kind of helps neutralize my blonde. I also use our Perla color therapy mask that I love. So anywhere I'm a little bit brighter, that really just, to me, it makes it almost brighter. It's like this beautiful neutral blonde. So I use a lot of different products to keep my blonde looking bright. Love it.
Perfect. And I think that's good to note as well, because oftentimes with color, we do like to do that. You know what? In a salon, that's exactly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You will find that your colorist won't just use one thing. They'll use lots of things. So we like to give you the tools that you can use to fall in love with your hair and use various different products in order to do that.
Yep.
So we have it all. Rachel, how's it going, my darling?
All right, so I'm wrapping up with my roots. So this is when I'm going to set my timer. I think we get that question a lot. Well, when do I set my timer? Is it right when I start applying? Is it after? Once all your roots are on, that's when you'll set your timer. So I'm going to set my timer for 45 minutes. So that's our recommended time if you have stubborn grays, resistant texture or hair. Otherwise, 35 minutes is the standard, but I've got time, so I'm going to go for 45. So I'll set my timer now, and I'm just going to do a quick cleanup of my hairline here.
Marvelous. So with the cross check, that's a great opportunity if you have those resistant grays, because sometimes what happens is that, a bit like with a cake frosting, you go over it first and kind of push down the grays, and then they will come back up again. Some of you who have resistant grays will know exactly what I'm talking about there. They almost kind of push through the color. That's the time to get that color and slap them back down again. Right, Rachel?
Exactly. Yep. Okay, shall we gloss?
Go for it.
All right. So I'm just kind of brushing through my ends. I'm not brushing through my root color, just through my ends. It's a little tangly. So I want to get all those tangles out, because when I get my gloss on there, I'm going to massage it through, and I just want to make it easy on myself to really work the product in, tangle free. Okay, so I kind of like to work one side and then the other side, working from the bottom up. So I'm just going to kind of split my hair down the middle, and I'll start with a section kind of at the nape. Now, when I get into my gloss, I don't have to take as small of sections. You know, you can kind of take a fairly good size. You can see it's a fairly good size. No need to take, you know, thin 1/4-inch sections like you do for your root. So I'm going to apply straight from the tube, no mixing involved. So there's no developer, no activator. You're just going to apply it straight onto your dry hair, and you're going to start to massage it through. And kind of get a feel for it first. It's a nice sort of gel-like consistency. So, you know, when you first put it on the hair, just kind of get a feel for it. Don't move too quick at first. You don't want it to kind of drop down the lengths of your hair, but just kind of work it in. And then I do like to comb each section through. No need to do this if you have curly or coily hair. You can just work it in with your fingers. But maybe for finer textures, straighter hair, nice to do. Just make sure you got everything covered. And I'll just keep working my way up.
Fabulous. So while you're doing that, I think, Krista, it's time for another question, don't you?
Awesome, let's do it. Okay.
So let's ask Luz. I know you've been waiting a long time, my darling. So I'm going to ask to unmute you, Luz. Where are you? Oh, I need you to show us what your hair looks like. Can you hear us? Luz, are you there? Can you turn your camera on? Are you there, Luz? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, darling.
Yeah.
What's your question, my dear?
Well, when you put your the coloring, you know, the for your gray.
Yes.
What does the gloss do?
Ah, what a fabulous question, Luz, and very appropriate because we're watching Rachel put gloss on her hair right now.
Yeah.
So let's think about it. If we have grey hair, we need permanent colour, right? Because nothing else is going to cover those pesky greys. And that's when you need full commitment from your colour. So think about it in these terms. You want to change your hair completely. You want to make sure that you cover those greys. That's when we need permanent colour. Now, through the ends of the hair, if your hair's already coloured, we actually don't need to cover any grey there. So the colour that's right for the roots isn't always the colour that's right for the ends. When we colour our roots, we're working with natural hair. When we're colouring the ends of the hair, we're often colouring hair which is already coloured. And that means that you have two different types of hair there. So what we recommend is permanent colour for the roots, because that's where the hair's natural, that's where you want the full commitment. Through the ends, we don't need that full commitment. We don't need to put this hair through any more chemical change. All we need to do is refresh and shine. And that's exactly what gloss does. So as a brunette, which I can see you've got lovely hair, it's beautiful. You have a choice, just like Rachel does. Today she's using espresso, which is a deep shade that helps to neutralize any red, which as a brunette, you'll know, sometimes you get those red tones and you don't really know what to do with them. If you didn't have gloss, what you would do is put the permanent color on and then take it probably straight through. That's not always the best way to address that because that's permanent color, it's full commitment color, and it can make the ends a little bit darker and too dark sometimes. So by using gloss, what we're doing is making sure that doesn't happen. We're literally giving shine and kind of kissing the hair with color rather than the full-on commitment that you get with permanent color. And that way, as the color washes out with gloss, then you can do something different the next time or experiment a little bit more. So I hope that answers your question. How are you getting on with your application, my darling?
Good.
Rachel?
It feels super smooth right now. My hair is loving this.
Good. So Rachel, while you're doing that, I'm just going to answer another question. So Sherry, I'm just going to ask to unmute you. All right.
And don't forget, guys, if your question doesn't get answered, there'll be an email at the end. So you just send those questions to that email and we'll answer those questions individually for you.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Sherry. How are you?
Hi, fine, thanks. I have a question about donating hair. So as you can see, my hair is super long and every 2 years I grow it so that I can donate it for, women with cancer. And I've donated it about 10 times, but now I'm beginning to see just a little gray on my, just above the ear here and then a little bit here. So I was thinking of starting to color it, but can I still donate it after I color it? And second question is, how do you find an exact match for your hair color? Because you can't, printed products on the box aren't always exactly what's inside.
I know. So yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I think that in general, as far as I know about hair donation, typically it shouldn't be colored. From what I've heard, I'm not sure, Susan, if you've heard other things, but that's what I know about that.
You know, that's an interesting one. And I think that's a great question. I think it depends. And what I would do, and I know for sure that if you're donating your hair in order for it to be made into a wig, it's preferred that your hair is natural color. However, if your hair is being donated for other reasons, which I don't know what other reasons there might be, but I'm not familiar with that, then possibly you can color. So that answers that. And then Krista, the crux of the matter, how do you choose the best color for your hair? You know all about this, darling.
We have many, many ways at Madison Reed. We have an awesome color advisor online. I'm not sure if you were able to take that or not yet, but it's amazing and it could help you choose your shade. We have awesome colorists on our color crew team that you can call in. Now we can video consult with you and find the right match. You can email anything. So we're happy as a company to help you find the right match. So whatever avenue you feel comfortable with, just let us know and we can help you find that.
Brilliant. I'm going to jump in here before we go back to Rachel with another question from Facebook. So we're very happy to have you with us, all our Facebook friends. And the question is, can I put gloss on my roots? So Rachel's been showing us exactly how that application is done when you have permanent color on the roots. And that's how we use our perfect pair, gloss and permanent color. But if you wanted to, you could use gloss in between times. So you don't have to always have permanent color on the roots of your hair. You can use gloss on the roots and through the mid-lengths and ends if you want to. We recommend that color, when you use color reviving gloss, you have colored hair because it works better on colored hair. But with those vibrant shades, which there are a few, they also will work very well on hair which is natural colored. So Rachel, how are you getting on? And are you using your gloss near the roots, near the permanent color? Because that's a question we get a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm basically starting to apply the gloss, right where my permanent color ended, right about here, and then massage it down. Now, if the two touch, totally okay. It's not, the gloss isn't going to disturb the permanent color. When I comb through, it's okay. I'm kind of even blending it a little bit, right? So, you don't have to be too nervous about absolutely keeping them off one another. It's okay if the two kind of touch and come together. But what I'm not doing is going in right at my root and saturating with the gloss because I've already got my root color on. Okay. So I've got my perfect pair on. I'm going to do a little cleanup around my hairline, and then I'm going to put my processing cap on for the rest of the way here.
And join in with us. So I know that you're going to fall in love with Rachel's hair when you see the result, and you'll be able to do that after we finish tonight. We're going to be posting those pictures for you, and we'll tell you exactly where to find them. Krista, I think it's time for another question, right? Can we have Whitney? Whitney, I'm going to ask to unmute you, my darling. I know you've been waiting so patiently, Whitney. Where are you? Hi.
Thank you so much. So actually, I had a question with one of your products that I've been using. Kind of like Krista, I've also used the Perla purple hair mask, and it works wonders because I have a balayage, and so there's bits of brunette and blonde in there, and so there's some dimension, and so I really love the purple mask, hair mask. But I also have been using the bond building cleansing treatment. I think it's a 6-week treatment. I'm thinking maybe in the summertime to fallish, I might go more with a darker color because my sister's wedding is coming up then. And so I wasn't sure how long I should continue to use the bond building cleansing treatment because I was told that was only for blonde hair.
Okay, brilliant question. Brilliant question. And you are quite the serial colorist, darling. Congratulations. And you know exactly how to maintain your hair, which is brilliant. So I know I'm so happy that we're getting our message out and you've totally taken it on board. So that's wonderful. And your hair looks gorgeous, may I say. So you are completely right. But I want you to think about it in these terms. The bond building shampoo is for hair that has been lightened. Okay, and your hair's been lightened and it's lovely and blonde, and you're maintaining all of that brilliantly. If you put color on top of your hair, it's still going to be lightened. It won't be blonde anymore, but it will be lightened underneath. Does that make sense? And this is where there's often a great confusion, because your hair might look like it's closer to its natural color, or it might not look blonde, but actually the history of the hair is kind of important. And for those of you who've not been through our color quiz, that's why we ask those questions. Is your hair colored? Has it ever been highlighted? Because when we lighten and do different things to our hair, it changes it. It changes the inside. And that's where you've made a brilliant choice to use the bond building treatment, because when hair is lightened, the lightener goes inside the hair and it kind of does stuff, which makes your hair a little bit weaker. You've probably noticed that, haven't you, darling? That it doesn't quite work the same as it used to. So with Whitney's hair, she's made the brilliant choice that she's using the bond building treatment. What that does is it goes inside and it kind of rebuilds all that stuff that's happened to make your hair stronger. And actually you're doing a great thing, because then when you come to color your hair again, Whitney, it's going to be in a much better state to take whatever you've got to throw at it. So I want you to flirt with as many colors as you like, darling, because we've got all of them to help you to do exactly that. So good luck. And don't forget, we're here to help. So anybody that has any questions, as Krista said, contact us through the website. We've got an amazing crew of people that are brilliantly trained. They know all about color. They know all about Madison Reed. So use us. Krista, would you like the next question, my love?
Sure. I actually have a question from Facebook from Diana. She asked, can you add highlights after putting on color and then do a gloss? So yes, Diana, I'm not sure if you're talking about our Lightworks kit, our balayage kit, but yeah, if you do the Lightworks, basically, let me answer this once again. Can you add highlights after putting on color and then do the gloss? So in general, if your hair is colored, you don't want to do a fresh, color and then typically lighten it. So typically what we like to do is start with what you have and then lighten that and do a gloss. Or what I do, I would do my roots and then lighten my ends. Because the more color you have, the harder it is for the lightener to lift out that color, if that makes sense. Susan, you know what I'm trying to get at here. It almost adds a barrier to, so to speak, for the color to work through. So you don't want to do a fresh layer of darker color and then try to lighten it up. And Diana, I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking or not, but feel free to email us and let me know, and I can answer that question better for you. Susan, what do you think?
I think you should do everything that your heart desires when it comes to hair color. And I think that if you're trying to lighten hair with using Lightworks, it's very important that you start with, especially when you're coloring your hair, and you're going to be coloring it afterwards, it's very important that you start with the easiest possible route. So if the hair is dark, it's going to be difficult to lift. If you're adding color to it, then it's going to be more difficult to lift. So try and have in mind what you're doing. It is often possible to use lots of different colors and also different ways to get there. So again, we're here as a resource. Email us, go online, speak to somebody in the color crew, and we're there to help with exactly those types of questions. So Diana, you might want to email at the end of the party with your specific question, and we can absolutely give you a much more accurate answer, because I know it's a little bit generalized. So let's see if we can ask Melissa. Melissa, darling, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Do you have your question ready?
I do. So I've been using the Vesuvius Red for the roots and then kind of pulling it through. But my hair is very oily. And so I was wondering, with regards to the waiting a day, like using the color on dirty hair, does it matter if it's like super oily? Is the product not going to saturate as well. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense, darling. Brilliant question. And you're right to ask that question, because oftentimes what you'll hear is that people will say it's important that the hair is without any oil or wax, right? Which is what they're normally talking about, styling products. So usually if it's naturally oily from the scalp and it's 1, maybe 2 days, you're absolutely fine, because what we're using with permanent color can absolutely go through whatever you've got there. If your hair is very oily, if you've used styling products, or if you perhaps haven't washed it for maybe 4 or 5 days, then it's important to clean the hair first, because you will possibly have some kind of barrier. But what I would advise is to clean your hair, wait a day, then color. I know that's a little bit of a pain, but the reason why we also advise is, first of all, it's a little bit easier to work with hair that's not super clean. Secondly, if you have something, the secretions from your scalp, it does help to protect your scalp a wee bit from the color, from the permanent color. So that's why we'll advise to do that. So I hope that answers your question, darling. Brilliant question. Krista or Rachel, would you like to take a question?
Sure, let's take one.
So I think, Marilyn, you've been waiting and you've been to us before, haven't you? I recognize you, my darling. I'm going to ask to unmute you for Rachel. Can we hear you? Right. Let's see, Marilyn. Let's see. I'm going to try and unmute you. I'm keeping trying. Ah, for some reason, it's not working. Huh, okay.
I got it. I did it. Okay. So, okay, like 2 parts of my question. First of all, I haven't been to the salon since July. I was very nervous with COVID because I have a lot of hair and it takes a long time in the salon. So I was doing highlights up until this year. And when I went in July, I just did one color. And I haven't been back because it took a long time and I was very, very, nervous. I have had some medical conditions, so I don't want anything coming where possible COVID. So I haven't done my hair since then. And so I've got about 5.5 inches. I bought the double kit of the blonde, the medium blonde, what's the color? I can look at the color of it, and also I bought the gloss. I have a lot. It's going to take a long time to do it. I also want to know, do you have to do the sensitivity test?
That's a great question. So yes, sensitivity test, really you want to do every time you use a new color. So definitely, worth the time to do that, just to be certain. Hope as all goes well and you continue mixing up your color. I think we might have you muted again. Marilyn, if you can try and unmute yourself again. But I think where she might have been going with that, because I saw some hand action, was when you mix up the amount for your patch test, you're just going to mix a very small amount of your activator with a small amount of your color and dab that behind the ear, or on the arm, and then just recap them. So recap your activator, recap the color, set that aside, and that'll stay good for that full, 48 hours you're waiting. Okay, I think I didn't get the last question.
I think we may have lost Marilyn for today. But I hope that answered your question, Marilyn. Don't forget, guys, if you don't get your question answered today, what we have is an email at the end. So you can send all of your questions and they will get answered by one of us. So let's see. Krista, would you like to take another question, my darling? I think we've got someone.
Let's see here. Let's do. Auntie Connie. I'm just going to ask to unmute you. I love that.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm a little afraid to say I'm a hairstylist.
Ooh.
And for actually over 40 years. And I really love your product. And I'm almost embarrassed because my hair looks like hell tonight. But I've actually flown to your headquarters and brought one of my Madison Reed poster clients to there. And we got our hair done and it was great. But I wonder, so for me, there was a time when you guys were having salons, we could have an account and it was one of my 3 color lines, but I understand the business model doesn't work that way and that's okay, I understand. But during COVID, I've been transitioning some clients to you. And so the biggest barrier of entry for what I'm finding for people is how to choose their color. So before COVID, they were allowed to come in my salon and I'd help them with the choice. And, sometimes we'd have to try 2. And then I'd send them to you guys to buy their own. So do you have a couple, I know you have the color choice thing, which is a great start, online. That's and I've actually used it for my clients to see if it was the same of what I pick instinctively. But do you, for people who have light hair, blonde, so maybe levels like 6 through 10 naturally, maybe not too many 10s natural, but 6 through maybe 8, and they have a lot of gray. Can you talk to, maybe the whole group, like if they're a blonde and they're gray, what are some just little rules to help them choose, because they want to deposit, but they don't want to get too brassy and so on. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. I was just going to even that's me, that client that you're talking about.
Oh,
I actually do use, as I mentioned, our Lucia dark blonde. It's a 8.5 NNA. So those 2 N's in there. Yeah, it's really helpful. Covers all my gray. And I'm about 85% gray. So that is
really
one I love. Yes. So yeah.
And great. I wanted to also say that there is donation for hair for people who color their hair too. So my recommendation is, I just saw a few sites. I was Googling it while you were talking, and there are some sites that you just have to call, but they mostly want semi-permanent color if it's going to be colored. And I was going to say, your product, your gloss, I'm finding a lot of people who've let their gray grow out a lot for COVID are using your glosses for fun and to get a sense of, maybe I don't want to go back to coloring, and maybe I'll eventually cut it off, all the tinted, and I'll just use glosses to have a little. Some of them have warm skin, so they might want just a little tinge of golden or a little crema, or make it more silver. So the gloss is perfect.
I love that.
So thank you. And your customer service.
Of course. And feel free to email us if you have more questions about the ends. Okay. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Isn't that fabulous? So I think we've got time for a couple more. Let's see, Maureen's iPhone. Where are you? I'm going to ask to unmute you. Maureen's iPhone, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy your product. I've used it twice so far. And
Your hair is Maureen.
Oh, thank you. And I really love that it doesn't smell and it just feels really good on my hair. But one question I have is, it seems like after I color my hair, it's darker near the roots where my hair is gray. It's like 100% gray. So, the color is really good near the roots, but, and then at the ends, I put more on towards the end, but the ends don't seem to be the same color. And I'm not really sure what to do.
That's a great question. And you've come to absolutely the right place. Are you using the color that you use through your roots on the ends of your hair as well? You're right. Okay. So this is exactly what can happen if you're using permanent color through the roots where the hair is natural, so it hasn't been colored before, and then you take it through to the ends where the hair is already colored. And I can see your hair's an absolutely gorgeous color. It looks like Como, which is 7NGM, which is one of my favorite shades, and I love that shade. So what's happening with your hair is that where your hair is natural, permanent color works brilliantly. Where it's already colored, what we use to cover the gray isn't what we need to refresh the color through the mid-lengths and ends. So what you need to do, Maureen's iPhone, is you need to use gloss, color reviving gloss, amaretto, and that will help you refresh that color through the mid-lengths and ends. So you do exactly the same application as we saw Rachel do earlier. What you also need, my darling, is this, which is what I use on my hair to keep the color fresh, because through the ends of your hair it's a little bit longer and it is what we call porous. So what that means is if the hair is porous, it absorbs color really well, but then it also lets it out really easily. So by using color therapy, which is one of our newest products, it's a color conditioning mask. It's conditioner with color in it. Use about twice what you would use your normal conditioner amount wise. Use that once a week, twice if you wash your hair every day, and you'll keep your color looking fantastic. So I hope that helps. As we know, we often have to use several products to layer, and that's exactly what happens in a salon. So those are specific products that will help for everybody, that particular maintenance program. I wonder if we have time for one more question. Do you think we have time for one more? I think we do. Let's go for Rhonda. You've been waiting so patiently, my darling. I'm going to ask to unmute you. Are you there, Rhonda?
Hi, how are you?
Rhonda, hello.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The last house party, the model did this amazing thing with conditioner. She has very curly hair, right? And she did the roots and then she ran the conditioner and she showed how the conditioner brought her curls back, and it was just great. And I'm really excited to try that for my next color. I'm wondering if I can put the gloss on and put the conditioner on.
Oh, I can tell you're a multitasker, Rhonda, aren't you? Like most of us. Yes, great question. Unfortunately, I have to disappoint you though, my love. There is a way that you can do exactly what you want to do. And actually, it's by using color therapy in a different shade in Cafe, because that way you will be able to refresh and color at the same time. If we're using gloss, we use conditioner once we rinse off. If you're using conditioner to do exactly what you saw Chris do, so those of you who were there at the house party saw her put color on the roots, then put the conditioner, Madison Reed conditioner through the ends, and that really helped to make the hair shiny and wonderful and great for curly hair. So what you do is do that alternately, not the same time as gloss. Do gloss one time, do conditioner the next time, and then use your Cafe color therapy to refresh instead of conditioner. Does that make sense, Rhonda? I hope so, my darling. And let me see, can we take one more question? I think we might have time for one more. Rachel, do you want to take one more question, darling?
Let's do it.
Barbara. I'm going to ask to unmute Barbara.
Hi, can you hear me?
Barbara, hi.
I can hear you. I'm just scrolling so I can see you. But go
Sorry.
ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so I'm new to this. I haven't gotten my color yet, but I'm going to start. So I have gray throughout most of my hair. It's maybe 70%, and I use a light red color, and I've colored my hair for years and years and years. So do I gloss, and will that gloss the ends? Or, I mean, how do you do it when you have a lot of gray in your hair? Is it the same process where you just do the roots and then gloss the ends? Do you do everything every 4 weeks, every 3 weeks as it's coming through? What's the process for somebody with a lot of gray?
Okay, perfect. So you actually had it right. You're going to follow basically the same thing I did today when you do your normal root touch-up routine. So you're going to put the permanent color on your roots and then put gloss on everything else left out. So permanent is just going where the grays are, essentially, where your regrowth is. And then gloss will go from there down. And that way you're sort of refreshing your color all at one time, okay? Now, say it's been 2 weeks. You're not quite ready to touch up your roots yet, but you need to revive the red tones or the auburn tones. Then you can put the gloss on everything all over to get this kind of feel and oomph in life of color again. But you're not really addressing the gray or the root coverage at that time. You're just kind of overall glossing everything, getting the tone, getting the shine. And then maybe 2 weeks from there, your roots are back again. So at that point, do your roots. And maybe since you just did the gloss, you don't need it. So you're just doing your roots only. Or you say, hey, I want the full deal. I'm going to put permanent on my roots and gloss on my ends at the same time. So gloss could essentially be used 2 ways. One in the perfect pair, roots and ends, or one, the other method is just all over, kind of in between your regular root touch-ups.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. So Mary G, I'm going to ask that you turn your camera on, and then I'm going to ask to unmute you. Let's see, here we go. All right, hi Mary.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. How are you?
Oh wait, I want to put my my video on
Okay, great.
because I did have a question. Hi.
Hi.
So I think I use Napoli, and I think I might have, maybe I didn't use enough of it because it's definitely redder. It's more red rather by the roots.
Okay.
So it really didn't match the rest of my hair, and I also used the regular gloss without the color.
The gloss up
From here down. I think maybe you helped me. Your voice sounds familiar because I did call when I was trying to pick the color. So I don't know if I picked the right color or because it definitely is more red by the roots, or I didn't use enough color.
Yeah, and then it also processing time also can make a difference. Do you remember how long you left the color on for?
45 minutes.
45,
it was
okay.
definitely the longer. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, I am looking at you. I am thinking of one of our colors that is a bit, it has a lot more neutral tones in it, the Dosolo 5.5 NNA. And then Mary, I'd love to have an email conversation with you about, the application techniques and if that color might be better or just something with Napoli that we could try to figure out. But yeah, we can definitely get you to something that has a little bit less red for you. Yeah, email me. Okay.
All right. Well, I think this concludes our hair color house party. But first, we have a prize to give out to a lucky winner. And the winner of the perfect pair kit, I'm looking at her and her name is Ursula. Congratulations, Ursula. Please check your email after the show. And we will work with you so that you can get your perfect shade delivered to you. Wonderful, and congratulations. Okay, the slate's gonna come up with all this information. If you have additional questions, email us to haircolorhouseparty@madisonreed.com. And Krista, the woman that you see on the screen, will respond to your questions. So we know who you are. You know that we know that you attended this party. We will give you tender loving care. Our next hair color house party is February 24th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Please come again, invite your friends, tell your friends. The hair coloring house party will continue. And thank you so much for joining. We had a great time. We hope you did too. And happy coloring, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. Goodbye.